Hello and welcome to the Albion Obsessed podcast. We join you on the back of nothing again. It's been a while. Well, actually, there's been two games in there that we need to talk about. So we're not just going to gloss over the bad things. Don't you worry, guys. We are going to be moaning today. So stay tuned for that. But we are, of course, going to be previewing the big game on Sunday against that lot up the road. So that's going to be great fun to try and talk my anxiety down from just wanting to curl up in a ball and not watch it. So here we go. Let's see who we've got on the show today. We've got Dagan. Dagan, how are you?
Doing well, Joe. How about yourself?
Yes, doing well, mate. It's been a very busy week for me. I started my new job on Tuesday, and I've just completed my first, not full week because I didn't go on Monday, but I've completed a week. So, yeah, it's been great. And we're also joined by Ian. Ian, you've had your ears lowered.
Looks like it, yeah. I'm all right. I've been a bit busy here and there with football, so trying to keep a track of the results and performances and stuff like that's been a bit hectic, but it's enjoyable. Why don't you love that, you know what I mean?
Exactly that. And Joanna in the chat as well. Hello to you, Joanna. Yes, we are live tonight, and your comments are appearing on screen. So, even more so, get involved in the conversation. And Dagan will be in the chat answering anything that we can't get to, as he always does. So, thank you for that, Dagan. We're also joined by Pascal Gross. Pascal, how are you? Yeah, he's frozen. So he might join us later.
Might be on mute as well. Never know.
Exactly, I know. Honestly, he's rubbish with technology. Very good at football. As I said, it's been maybe a couple of weeks since we were on air, Dagan. Me and you were FaceTiming whilst the Fulham game was on, and the conversation between us both, which normally flows so brilliantly well, fell unbelievably flat, didn't it, my friend?
Yeah. I mean, stunned silence has become too familiar a marker in close proximity. It's really soul crushing. I'm one to look back and try to take things in their totality. In that match, we missed four big chances. Yeah. I know we'll talk more about it. But it's just hard to overcome that. And we just see it again and again. We miss those chances early and then it bites us late. And, not able to build a big lead. But yeah, tough pill. We were there on the call when things, ultimately turned for the worst. A really, really deflating result. And then, to respond to that and then have another gut punch, it's just a lot for a team to take in, and hopefully we respond again this week.
Yeah, exactly that. It's this time of the year, especially, games come unbelievably thick and fast, and you've got the opportunity within days to respond to a bad result. Ian, the Fulham game had us going through all sorts of emotions, didn't it? We were up, we were down, and then seconds later, we were up again, and we thought Danny Welbeck had saved the day. For it to be taken away, Ian, by his shirt sleeve being offside. Last time I checked, and I wish I had a football here to prove it to you, that a shirt sleeve isn't quite strong enough to put to put the ball in the back of the net. And there was also a similar situation that weekend as well, in which the arm was ruled onside, exactly the same place as where Danny Welbeck's was offside. So, again, semi-automated offsides brought in for more clarity. Are we getting more clarity? What do you think?
I definitely wouldn't say we are getting more clarity. I think, if anything, we're just getting more confusion. I'm not saying that VAR is the problem or the video assistant is. I think it's just so much. Rules in football seems to be a new one every week, right? And so I understand that refs have to try and keep us track like we do, and it isn't easy because we're like, I don't know, are you allowed to do that? I don't know, but I think you've got to really look at it when like a very similar incident happens like twice in the same week, and one's one and one's the other. You've got to really look at it and sit down and go, right, so what's the actual concrete answer? Because yes, you could say, oh well, it's just a goal, but we all know that it's more than just one thing like that, right? So it's frustrating because I think I was saying to my friend back in Northern Ireland who's a United fan, I know, poor him. I was like, that 1 week just felt like the world was against us because we had the Bournemouth penalty that wasn't a penalty, and then later that week we had that offside that just, and it's like, you know, we can sit and people online are going to go, oh well, Fabian's not getting results. To a certain extent, yes, okay, we're not getting results and all that, but when we're getting robbed by VAR in situations like that, there is nothing the players, the coaches, the manager can do at all. It is completely out of their hands, and I think that's why we've got to sort of fall slightly on the sword and say, yes, we aren't playing well, but it's not down to something. We've got to think VAR is not helping, and we need clear, concise, basically response from everyone. And I think Dunk said it years ago. I think refs and things like that should be doing interviews after games to explain situations like that. And it sounds silly, yes, okay, but address it. Go, under this rule, this is why it is. Don't do that after review, Brighton number 18, because we don't care. We want to know why it's deemed as offside if it's just a shirt sleeve. We want to know what makes or breaks that rule. You know, so
100%.
It's
and
frustrating.
Like it's exactly what you're saying, Ian. Like I always bring this up, and I hate that I always have to bring it up, but we should be getting that clarity from referees. Like when I was younger, my dad used to watch rugby all the time, and it was such a confusing sport. Like I couldn't wrap my head around it at all, but I learned so much from hearing the referees. And when we see these new ref cams coming out, and there's like 4 minutes worth of referee footage, and you hear them literally like commentating the game as the game's being played. They're telling players to get up. They're telling players to no, that wasn't a foul. No, this was. It gives so much clarity, and I really really believe that it wouldn't be as bad as what they believe it would be to release that audio live. Because when I hear it, I'm like, oh wow, I feel so much better having watched that. So it's moving slowly in the right direction. I do believe that. It's just frustrating having to go through all of these teething issues with, waiting for it to get to where we want it to be. It will never be 100% satisfaction from fans. Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. But we will get to a point where people can go, that's why. And I feel like every single week we're sitting here talking about a VAR decision, talking about this, talking about that. And I always go into these podcasts thinking, do you know what? Today, I really don't want to talk about that, but we have to because it's such a big part of the game, Dagan. Against Everton, we could have been 2-0 up if not for a ridiculous call on Joel Veltman being offside and impeding the goalkeeper's view. And then if we look at the Everton goal, the shot that comes in that's rebounded to Beto, where's James Tarkowski?
Well, yeah. With the Veltman offside, I still don't fully grasp. Was it because he interfered with the defender who would have defended the first header because he kind of set a pick from an offside position. But that's literally every Arsenal set piece. And many teams are setting those kinds of
And all he did was stand there.
Yeah.
He didn't block. He didn't do anything like that.
No. So I look at that and think you could make that call so consistently. It was shown one time. The decision was made. It was so quick. And similarly, the Tarkowski was a pretty quick resolution. Whereas, we've seen other decisions take a monumentally long amount of time when it seems pretty obvious that it was close. It's frustrating to me. I think the two in the Everton game were more frustrating. The Welbeck call, for as similar as it was, I think the judgment on the offsides is because the part of his sleeve / side of his arm that was off compared to, I think it was a Bournemouth player, the other one you're referencing. When I say it was this much higher on the sleeve, it was really this much higher on the sleeve, just above where the Premier League logo is located. And it seems like that's become the barometer, is if it's any part of the arm above that, then it's bad. And as long as it doesn't include the whole logo, you're okay. Because I think the Bournemouth one that was ruled fine, it bisected the logo.
So what do they do if that situation was mirrored and it was Welbeck's arm with the sleeve sponsor?
Yeah, I guess, who knows? They bisect the sleeve sponsor. Again, because ultimately it's supposed to be in relation to your armpit, not in relation to the sponsor. But I think your length of shirt sleeves, there are all kinds of things that I just variables that I wonder, does this matter? Are decisions being made based on whether this guy has a medium or a large shirt? And
for
right?
Me, with VAR, something should be overturned because it's clear and obvious. And if it's as simple as that, right? Going, right, well, realistically, if it's about that much of his shirt is off, it's not going to impact the play.
Yeah.
As much as any person, including if it was given us the other way, as much as we can argue, but it's not going to impact the play, right? If it was half of his foot, fair enough. You go, well, there's half. You know what I mean? A defender could get that foot just about in front. I can understand that argument. But that much of a sleeve or something? It's pathetic. It needs to be if it's clear and obvious. And it was the Bournemouth one.
For me, I just think maybe that is the rule to the letter of the law.
The decision on field is so obviously wrong. It's as simple as that. I know it's two different sports, but in ice hockey, a goal can be disallowed for goalkeeper interference. But a player's well within their right to stand in front of the goalie and screen him. If he goes into him, yeah, fair enough. That's interference. But standing in front of him is just, yeah. So it should be clear and obvious. And if it is, overturn it. If not, let it stand. Because then you can let VAR have a look at it properly, just continue the game. And then if they go, no, seriously, have a proper look at it, then you go, right.
Yeah.
Because there's enough time in that 20-second, 30-second time of the celebration, everyone getting back, for VAR to have a quick look and just go, no, it's not enough to change the momentum of the game. And that's what VAR is. It's a momentum changer, so it needs to be clear and obvious. Otherwise, just keep it as it is.
Exactly. And as Phil says in the chat, the fact that we're having this conversation shows that it was not indeed clear and obvious. And these are conversations had across every single podcast to do with the Premier League, or maybe even every single podcast that has leagues that have VAR. It's such a controversy. It's such a still quite a new thing that people are having to wrap their heads around. And, in the grand scheme of how long football's been around, it's literally like a drop in the ocean, VAR. So, of course, everybody is up in arms, flailing their hands around when things are going wrong and technologies aren't where they need to be. As I've said before about the camera angles they provide, the quality of footage, which when they zoom in is 8-bit. Sorry, take more.
Well, I was just going to say there should be tech in the ball, because the frame at which they stop it based on the pass, to me, you can see huge variance in that selection. And there should be some automaticity to that selection, and only a ball with a sensor for like when is it first struck could then stop it at that point, right? Like that, and that would be more clear. But there are sometimes where it looks like they stop it as soon as it's touched. There are others where they don't stop it until it's like about to come off the foot. And there's a fraction of a second there where movement is happening and can affect the drawing of the lines. And sometimes when it takes an extra long time, as someone who's prone to think nefarious things may be happening, it seems to me, can they manipulate? Oh, we're going to stop it here. Well, what if we stop it one frame earlier, but it's still on his foot, but he started the passing motion? Does that make him off? Does that make him on? Because it just like there are too many human variables and too many choices that are made where even in the semi-automated offsides, it's not automated, it's semi-automated. And I think until you can take human error out of it, there's always going to be a question of, is this rigged? The proliferation of betting in the leagues, both in terms of winners and losers and in terms of goals scored. And when you start seeing so many goals being chalked off due to, what seemed like non-existent infractions, you start wondering, where's the money on the over-under in this game? And is that impacting decisions? Because it is happening in other sports, and it seems like the reasonable questions to be asked here too.
Yeah. The last point I'll make on it, and again, it is to carry on from the technology and the things that you were bringing up there, Dagan, about the framing work of how they stop the footage. And when I watch it back, I go back to like this is silly, but I go back to like my school days and using like school editing software where you can literally only edit it by these regimented frames. I know for a fact, having done lots of editing in the past, that there are softwares out there that allow you to play footage smoothly until you know exactly where you want to stop it. So I don't understand how we are the richest sport in the world, the richest league in the world, and we can't get the technology to allow a smooth playback for such important decisions. It blows my mind, and it's something that really that the technology has to keep up with. How like there's millimeters in this sport, as you say, Dagan. There are millimeters. Our technology has to track that if you want it to be precise and fair. So yeah, it's just frustrating.
Well said, Joe. I wholeheartedly agree. Good comments in the chat.
Yeah, thank you, chat. Yeah, Curtis, why did you have to tell us that? You just brought the mood down on Joe. Keep us updated. Curtis is our reporter at Ellen Road. Is it at Ellen Road? I don't even know. So obviously we can talk about VAR, we can talk about decisions going out not our way, and we can talk about framing being off, and we can talk about 8-bit cameras all day long. But Ian, the thing that I want to talk about is that Fulham goal right at the end. And I don't want to bash him because he's a very young player, and young players are going to make mistakes, and that's how they learn and grow. But the free kick is given away in a very dangerous area by Babis Kostulas. That just shows there, doesn't it, that whilst fans are calling for him to be starting games over Danny Welbeck, it's not quite there yet, is he?
Apologies. Yeah, no, it's. I think I mentioned it to you just before the sort of pod, and I was saying it's like the little 1% at the minute. And what I sort of mean is it's like those little things, like the game management, and then the passes into the final. It's all these little tiny things. Improve them, we start to just shoot, and we win. And yeah, I mean, I understand what Babas was trying to do. Don't get me wrong. Like, we've all been there. We've all played football, most likely, anyway. And we've all been in there to the point where you're like, let them know, stop the game, get it. But there's also time. There's also time and a place. And you're like, if you're shutting up shop, and if the momentum's on their way, you've got to figure out a way to do it cleanly, yes, but you have got to stop them. And so, to be fair, I don't want to bash him, but I think little things like that. 2 seconds. Background noise. Apologies. Yes. What was I saying? So we're like those things there. I'm sure Babis is very intelligent, and so like Fabian and Jonas and all that would have probably looked at it in the meeting on the Mondays and gone, "This is what's led to the goal. It's not on you because there's X, Y, and Z decision that could have been done beforehand, right?
Yeah.
But it's these little things with a young squad. You've got to get their cogs turning basically and say, this is what we've got to cut out if we want to get to this.
Yeah.
So
100%.
it's teeny weeny bits. It's so trying to be positive, but let's just get them 1% sorted and we're good.
Exactly. And I think that's what Pascal's been alluding to over the last few interviews that he's given after games, Dagan, about those 1% and the things going our way. And you always talk about the ball bouncing in the right direction. So it isn't as far away as what people are making out to be, is it? The performances we're asking for, the results we're asking for, the performances aren't going to be there. Across the Premier League, we know that that's not the case for any team. So it's about getting those results and having that margin, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll add a little bit of neuroscience here. Is that quite literally all of our young players up to age 25, their brains are still developing. And the piece in the male brain that is last to finish is controlling impulsivity. And Babas's mistake is a mistake, and it is typical of young men. He gave the ball up, he's frustrated and wanted to win it back, and he committed a cheap foul because his brain just didn't process all of the things fast enough, because his impulsive reaction was, I lost the ball, go get it back. Because from a young age, that's what you're taught. And making that transition to don't make a stupid foul takes a lot longer. Now, again, I've spent my life coaching a different sport than this one, but the same thing is true. And it's a part of what you accept when you play young players. And it's why a lot of top teams don't play a lot of young players. Chelsea is a real anomaly, but I think if you look at Chelsea, you would see they have some of the most quizzical, insane mistakes games to game, right? You see their talent and the quality of all those young players, but they do just completely incomprehensible stuff. And that's why. And it's why they're, despite all their talent, they're, sitting 4th, 5th, not 1st through 3rd. A subtle difference, but a difference. And to your point, right, that's those margins around the 1%, like those kinds of things pop up. And so that's not on coaching. Like De Zerbi, Hursler, anyone in the world, you're not making brains develop any faster. You obviously can teach kids. It's not saying you can't teach them, but their brains are still developing, and that impulsivity is still going to be there, no matter how much routinization you think you've done. It's why the top players, right, in every league, in every sport, especially team sports, are older, right? It's interesting, right? In young women's sports, you often see that development, that peak happens sooner than in men's sports. There are physiological reasons there, but a lot of it is neuroscience and brain development. That impulsivity piece in young women's brains finishes developing at 18, but for men it's 25. So that's my little nerdy rant for parents of boys out there. If you're wondering why your boys are much more impulsive than your girls, that's why. It's neuroscience, friends. But I do think that stuff is in play, and I think we talk a lot about coaching, and there's some things that as a coach you just can't fix brain development. It happens.
But like, if Babis, if his impulse won us the ball back in that moment, we'd be going, wow, what a reaction from him to lose the ball and go and get the ball back. It's not gone his way. He's given away the free kick, and it's an unbelievable strike into the far corner that maybe Verbruggen could have done better with. But That's
I
beside
think
the
that's
point.
what we're touching at is Babas was the one that made the mistake, but he wasn't the only one on the pitch. Like you can make an argument of, well, could that player be here or could that? And then it's the if buts and maybe. It's like Babas did give it away, but you have to, and the coaches I'm sure will. They look at the whole picture, the play by play.
Yeah.
What happened for this mistake? Like in the build up to this mistake, because it could have been as simple as someone was slightly out of position, and Babas was going to cover it. So
Yeah.
from doing something good, Babas ended up doing something bad.
Yeah. 100%.
But people will focus on that one thing because it's what stole the headlines.
Yeah.
So it's
exactly.
it just lay off, and especially with such a young squad. He's what, 18, 19? Lay off him. He's 18, 19. He's playing in the Premier League. He's not even played a full season yet.
But Ian, sometimes what people don't understand, and like you say, they can bring in neuroscience into it, is these players that we're watching on the pitch, whether it be through TV or in the stands, are human beings who are making decisions, who are making mistakes, just like you do.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. They're not these computerized figures that you can control on FIFA. They are human beings. And it's all a part of the learning process.
And it's coaching matters, but coaching doesn't equal control. Like it doesn't mean that every player will do the thing that you would want them to do. Ideally, that's what happens. But also, you see, making players automatons doesn't work either. Like they have to be able to think. But again, it's why having veterans is good. Now, when the trade-off for those veterans is they mentally are making the right decisions, but physically aren't able to execute them, that also becomes a problem. And we have a lot of players on both of those spectrums, right? Players who are kind of past their best physically or not yet at their best mentally. It's a tough spot to navigate. That's not to make an excuse. And again, I don't like referring to things as excuses when in fact they're reasons. It's a narrative choice that people make to label any reason an excuse. And for me, like, again, it doesn't mean you're free from criticism because it's not the case. But there are reasons these things happen. Some of them beyond the coach should be better, or they should be better prepared, or they shouldn't make these mistakes. Like, again, they're all over the place. It's not all of these mistakes are not unique to us. We're not the only team losing games late in the match. Our opponents aren't the only ones scoring goals in the 96th minute. It feels that way because we're witnessing it, and it's devastating, especially when it happens 2 gosh darn weeks in a row, and that Fulham did it twice, right? Those two things together, I feel like, have kind of broken our brains. I mean, this weekend, I was at my friend's garage and just doubled over a chair for like 2 minutes and just could not move or speak because it's crushing.
I was exactly the same. The guy in front of me in the stadium, I'll give it to him. I think he listens to this because we chat all the time. So if you are listening, well done to you for losing your head so much that made me laugh. But he was fuming. He was so mad. He just I said to my mate who was sat with me, I said to him, Beto came on. I went, Beto 96th minute. I wish I never said that. As Tom usually says, I angered the football gods. And there it was, Beto in the 96th minute. And yeah, like you, Dagan, I just slumped into my chair and just stared. I just could not believe that we were seeing another late goal given up, which is or has been at times, I'm not going to say consistently, but at times a worrying trend that has occurred, which I hope doesn't continue. Dagan, I am going to come back to you on this one. I'm personally, myself, I'm very, very on the fence with Fabian Hürzeler. Now, I will always back him as long as the club backs him. I will never repeat my antics of last season after losing 7-0 and calling for his head because I just don't think that it's helpful for anyone. but I am unbelievably on the fence about him. He said, I can't remember whether it was after Everton or before Everton, that he will get this squad to where we want to be by the end of the season. Do you think that that was a dangerous thing for him to say with some of the pressure he's coming under, Dagan, or do you think it was like a statement of real belief in his squad?
I mean, I think he has every reason, despite what most fans say, to believe that our appearances have been good enough to be where we want to be. Simple as that. It is not far-fetched to think we'd be sitting on 37 points right now and in 7th place. And I don't think people would be calling for his job if we were in 7th place. They may have grumbles, but I don't see us being in 7th and people saying, this guy's a fraud, we're whatever. These last-second goals have changed so much in our outcome. If I'm him, I'm betting on myself. I'm betting on the squad. Like, if you don't have that belief, why are you here? I'll say, like, this guy is 30. Is he 33 now? Or still 32? He's still 32. Like, you don't get here at 32 by accident. You don't get to the Bundesliga 2 as a head coach by accident. Like, there are plenty of people who are much his senior that would love to have that job and certainly to have this job. So, like, there's no way this man has coached 62 Premier League matches at Brighton and only lost 16 if he's incompetent. It doesn't make sense. Managers come into this league and are gone in weeks, months, right? 16 out of 62. That's pretty clearly we're competitive with this guy. And talk about your 200 million last summer. But again, we all know, because we look at the information, we were replacing a lot of lost talent. Looking at a 5-year net, Brighton is at the bottom of all of the teams in the Premier League. So the money spent, yes, it was spent, but it was spent to replace. I know I beat this drum all the time. My position, and I'm glad to hear you say it, Joe, is like we should back the guy till the end of the season. We should maybe not like be critical of everything he says. He's just mocked at every turn. Because what will stink is if he does turn this ship around, and because it turns around, he gets an offer somewhere else, and he's like, you know what, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, which
I think,
and you would say maybe anyone's going to do that. And that's all he's here to do. But if he does do what he did at the end of last season, which is put us on a really good run, and we do find ourselves this year not getting outed from Europe by, Palace or some other random team winning a cup, which we already know that's not going to happen in the Carabao Cup because we've got 2 of the top teams in the final. I don't know. Wait it out to the end of the season, back the club, back the guy. We would have to do worse than we've been doing in this 10-match run to get relegated. Even if we don't win, we're drawing enough that we won't get relegated, which is crazy thing to say.
Slightly concerning form. I think when you do look back at the last 10 league games, that it's pretty down the table in terms of form, and is a bit too close to the teams that are sort of struggling at the bottom end. Mike saying, give it to Jude McDonald until the end of the season. Is the Eastbourne Borough manager, for anyone who didn't know. So there you go. The thing for me about Fabian Hürzeler, Ian, is I don't think he's helping himself with this pressure. He's not endearing himself to the fans. He doesn't come over to away ends. He doesn't. Wrong team, was it? Sorry, Mike. Oh, that's shows my terrible. Is it Eastbourne Town? Mike, you're going to have to correct me, mate. Jude McDonald. Let me Google it. Hold on. Eastbourne Town Football Club. Mike, I have amended that accordingly for you. I'm so sorry. Please don't at me. Yeah, Ian, for me, I don't think Fabian Hertzler helps himself. Do you think he could do a bit more in terms of, giving the fans what that they want in terms of like spending a bit more time in front of them, applauding them for their travels up and down the country?
I mean, it's kind of weird, but like, I don't expect them to, right? I mean, De Zerbi, like right until the end of Potter's era, he didn't do it. Like he just went off, sort of did that, and then like every manager does. It wasn't until like that really good run that he got us on, and then we started doing and that's sort of like the only real first time in my eyes, anyway, that you saw the connection between Potter and the fans, like in a clear and obvious way. And
much like VAR's clear and obvious. Sorry.
But like, I feel like, and again, it's a bit difficult because De Zerbi was very much the polar opposite. He loved speaking to the fans and stuff like that. And I think people kind of get on a constant comparison. Like, it doesn't matter whatever you do. For some reason, football fans go, well, we've got to compare this person to this person and this person to this person. And it's like, Fabian is nowhere near the same person, for good or bad, as De Zerbi, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, trying to go, oh, well, like, he doesn't connect with the fans. He's never done that. Like, I don't really... Had he done it at the very start of his like tenure and now didn't, then you could maybe argue there's a bit of frostiness or something. I get it, but he does it every once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
So like he's not been that overly emotional guy towards the fans. But I think we also don't help our case, because the more we criticize him, and he's the youthful manager. He's on social media more than anyone in terms of our most recent. Like, if he sees constant Fabian this, Fabian that, Fabian this, Fabian that, and it's all negative, why would he want to?
Yeah, it's fair.
Like, if you're in a workplace, like you're in an office, and someone goes, "You're this bad, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong," you go, well, "I'm not going to speak to you. God, I'm not going to. Why would I bother? Like, I was going to sit back. They can do all the nights out. I'm just not going to bother, because if that's the energy you're going to give me, why would I give you that back anyway?" Right? So, for me, he's different to Roberto. And I think if we want a good connection with Fabian, yes, he has to work on it, but so do we. We can't be getting on at him for not doing it. Like, let's do something. Like, we have a chant for De Zerbi, right? That helped. Because there was like, oh, they're singing my name. What does Fabian have?
Nothing, I think it's right? More because you can't rhyme anything with Hertzler.
We did a chant for Venumia, or whatever you call him, in the championship, and that's a tough one. But, like, we need to figure out a way to give him love. And I know he's not the Mickey Mouse Club kind of guy, but, we just want a little bit more clear transparency between them both.
What's a Mickey Mouse Club, Ian?
Well, jolly and happy, and
oh yeah, fair enough.
He's like gonna be all, you know what I mean?
That's the best thing I've heard all season. So good.
We've got to work on it between us, and I don't think he should go personally.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed. Sounds like he's died or been sacked, but I've really enjoyed up to this point of what we've had with her. So we've had bad runs, yeah, of course we have, but like, I love what he's done to the squad. He sort of, De Zerbi gave us that mentality to win, like, more and challenge the establishment, and Fabian's sort of doing similar but changing it and being like, don't give up in a game. Do your best to, like, do what you can. And yes, right now it doesn't look that way, but if you look across his tenure, like Dagan said, 16 losses in 62 Premier League games at 32 proves that clearly something is working, and for some whatever reason, like fans don't like that, and I don't get why. If you actually take it a step back and go, well, actually, hang on, 16. That's like barely anything really for the club that we're at. If that makes sense, we're not an Arsenal. We're not spending 200 million a window, and this 200 million we did spend was his first year. He's then adjusted his tactics, and then those players have got him and players, and
was because we lost the players that achieved us European
right?
football.
So
as,
if you do
as
two
Phil has
£100
pointed
million
out.
summers, all of a sudden that doesn't look as bad. But we didn't do anything that first year, or the second year technically with De Zerbi. So then we're kind of like a year behind in recruitment. So I think you just got to look at the whole picture sometimes and kind of go, is he doing a pretty good job, all things considered? Yeah, he kind of is. He's rejuvenated a washed striker in Danny Welbeck, and he's made him more prolific than he ever has.
Yeah.
But we talk about Welbeck scoring the goals, but that's also down to Fabian and his coaching team and the medical team. So to me, let's just we'll get to the end of the season. We back him as much as possible, and then if we're seriously in a slump, I think Tony and Paul then have a chat and say, we don't want to sack you, but we need to see this, and this. And it has to be very, very clear from the board and Albion from that point. Not just, we want to be challenging for Europe. We need to be like, no, we will challenge. We will get Europe. You know what I mean? So, I'm a fan of Fabian, and I think we just need to back him a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, like Phil says in the comments, we need to be realistic about expectations. And of course, the expectations, the bar was risen as soon as we achieved European football. You know, the upwards trajectory of this football club has been incredible to watch. And now we're sitting in Premier League mid-table mediocrity. You know,
it was our second or third best ever finish in the Premier League in his first season.
Second
he was 31
best
at the time. Yeah,
second
so
best.
So why are we getting on him? Like, he's just done that. Like, what are you talking about? He's a 30. It's his first season in the Premier League. He just missed out on Europe by about that much, and he's
I think for me personally, seeing how this season has panned out up until this point, the reason I'm still on the fence is because we are taking a backward step. And it's not for me to say we absolutely should be getting European football. I'm not setting that expectation. I hope we get European football. I would love to be on the journey to be sitting here going, goodness me, what a fantastic end to the season we're looking at. But the reality for me is that I'm looking at this season now, and apart from the FA Cup and, you know, Liverpool haven't been great this season, I'm fearful that we'll go out of the FA Cup. And for me, that would spell to me the end of the season. And I think that's maybe why I've titled the podcast, why I've titled it today. Because I feel like for a vast majority of fans that I've spoken to or that I've heard from or that I've seen on social media, I do think this Palace game is going to be a bit make or break for Fabian. And it's on the back of two gut punches, as you say, Dagan. So, yeah, for me, a positive result against Palace would give him that little bit more of a springboard to hopefully push on and achieve something. But I really do fear, Dagan, that a negative result is going to spell the end for a vast majority of fans. What would you say to that?
I mean, I would say the vast majority of fans are probably already there, at least the vocal online ones. I think they'll be quiet if he gets a result this weekend, or if he gets 3 points. I think if we draw, folks will still be apoplectic because it's not a win, and the number that we're running with is wins. We desperately need to win. It's a home match. It's our rival. And if we're aiming for Europe, we need to find a way to get 3 points here soon. We're starting to run low on time. There's a lot of time left. And this stretch of the season last year, we had a good run, a bad run, and another good run. it's certainly possible that a lot can change in form. Yeah. One thing I'll say is I find it interesting. People talk. It's about performances, except it's not. It really is about results. Except when results are good, it's not about results. It's about performances. Is the refrain that I seem to keep hearing. So we both have to win in most fans' minds, and have to have a good, subjectively good performance for it also to be good. So yeah, if we get a win here, there's a decent chance we are just a couple of points off 7th. Brentford plays Newcastle. Sunderland plays Arsenal away. Everton and Fulham play each other. So the bunch of teams that we're tight with right now are going to have a tough time coming away with a bunch of points. I'm missing whoever's playing Villa. Bournemouth's playing Villa. So everybody sort of around us has a tough match. So 3 points in this one really could catapult us. We won't move up, I think, much higher than maybe 9th at best, or 10th maybe, or even, gosh, it might be 11th. Anyway, sorry. But I think the 3 points in terms of European football becomes very real. That said, if we get 1 point and Brentford, halves with Newcastle, and Sunderland doesn't get 3 points against Arsenal or get a point from Arsenal, we're still in the same place we are this week, 6 points back from 7th, which is not a tragedy. That is not a deficit that can't be made up by one good run of form. So I hope that people can keep perspective. But I know that this game in particular makes it very hard to keep perspective. Because people were calling for him to be out when we lost 3-1 to Palace at home last year already. That was early in the season. Not good enough. No tactics. Yeah.
The thing for me is I don't think I've ever felt this way about a Brighton manager. For me, Hippier was like, get him gone. He's no good for this football club. Everybody knew that. And that's why against the game against Millwall, everything was really, really toxic. So for me, this is a very new feeling as a Brighton fan to be so on the fence about a guy. But, I always say that the club haven't, in the last God knows how many years, given me any reason to doubt their decision-making. There's been a few bad decisions along the way, of course there has. But there have been more good decisions for me to trust that whatever they do is the right call. So if them keeping Hertzler until the end of the season at least is the right call, then I'm happy to back that decision. And that's not me saying I'm Fabian in. That's not me saying I'm Fabian out. That's me saying I'm going to support this football club no matter what is happening. Because at the end of the day, managers come and go, players come and go, the club will stay the same, the fans will stay the same. All we have to do is keep supporting them, as you were rightly saying, Ian. So, I mean, we've pretty much already previewed the Palace game there. So, Dagan, I'll come to you for a score prediction, please, for Sunday.
Sorry. A score prediction for Sunday. I wrestle, but I actually think if we score first, and I'm going to say that we win this match 3-0.
Yes, please. Yes, please. A repeat of the St. Paddy's Day massacre would be lovely. Ian, score prediction, please. And thank you, Joanna, for joining us. We'll see you soon.
I don't really had a match of that. Jeez, Dagan was hella positive.
As he always is.
Yeah. It's always a tough one, right? Because it's more than just a game on Sunday, right? It will be.
This is life and death.
We can sit there and say, in the grand scheme of things, it's just a game, and it is, but it isn't at the same time, right? It's like a war, really, isn't it? So it's always hard to say because you don't know how players are going to react, and you don't know how they're going to be in terms of mentality and stuff like that. So I'm going to say 2-1 to us. I think it's going to be a very, very, very cagey game.
Yeah.
I think Palace fans and Brighton fans are both in a very similar situation right now. There's a little bit of negativity with the club, and understandably so on certain things. Palace aren't having a great time of the bit.
Sorry.
Which is great for us, but like they said, they won an FA Cup and we haven't, so we can't really shout at them right now, can we?
We won the Community Shield first.
But like, yeah, I think it's gonna be quite cagey, and I think it's gonna be a 2-1. I think
fair enough.
Somewhere there's a penalty, but I don't know who's getting the penalty.
Lewis Dunk scores the penalty in the 98th minute.
I was going to say Harry Howell, 98th minute.
Or even Solly March, who's been back in first team training for a few weeks.
Why not?
Well, we can say you let Solly March near penalty.
Howell and
true. Dagan, very good point. If we let Solly March take a penalty,
this Charlton penalty is still somewhere in orbit.
Phil, we're going to talk about the transfer window in just a moment. I will do my score prediction first, and then we'll do a brief one on the score prediction. Transfer window even. For me, like I was on a Crystal Palace podcast yesterday. I know, but I was giving the opposition preview side of things with a very, actually really nice Palace fan, Ellie, who is also a finalicist for the thing that we're doing. And you're right, Ian. The Palace mood right now apparently is absolutely shocking. And she actually said Glasner out. She said those words to me yesterday. So we've got to put the pressure on them. We've got to get them early. We've got to, as you say, Dagan, if score early, put them under pressure. They're not in a good way at the moment. And she actually also said to me that if Brighton win on Sunday, she believes that would be the end for Oliver Glasner at Palace. So make of that what you will. For me, I'm going to go for a very tight 1-0 win to the Albion, and I do think it's going to be tight either way. I just hope that we score in like maybe the 89th minute, close to the end, so they don't have much of a chance to come back. But we know, as Brighton fans, anything after the 90th minute is still very dangerous. So there you go. That's the Palace game preview. Let's quickly talk about the January transfer window. Dagan, I'll come to you first. It started in the most magical way possible. Of course, the man below me, not Ian, Pascal Gross, came back to the football club. And many thought that was the beginning of a mini sort of overhaul recruitment-wise. So it's not panned out that way, has it? There's been a couple of question marks over the loan moves we've made at the end of the window. And, of course, Matt O'Reilly returning as well. So what have you made of January?
Well, I mean, the end result, right, is we got Pascal Gross back. We sent, a number 10 who can kind of play winger on loan, and brought in O'Reilly, who I think for us seemed like 10 was his best position. Though I know he came to us as a, theoretical 6, 8, 10, but I did not see any signs of 6, and even 8 looked questionable at times. Is back. We sent a right-footed Coppola on loan and got a left-footed Igor back. Those are the things we know. I think Garuda's absence makes room for Harry Howell. There's another young player, is it Oriola?
Yeah.
Who is a left-footed right winger who's regarded really well by the club. He's had some squad appearances. I think he may have come on once, but he may find himself with some chances as well. Watson also went on loan, not getting a lot of time. I'll say, people think Watson was this every minute player for Sunderland. He wasn't. I think he played 800 minutes total for Sunderland in their coming up season. He had trouble getting on the pitch for them. He just happened to score the biggest goal in however many years. But it was not shocking to me that he came in and didn't find a ton of time for us. And again, I think these young guys being able to play the number of minutes that you would like for them to, and to keep their mentality locked in, is a big ask that many young players are not ready for. When Minta came, the biggest question mark for him was, would he track back and defend? And he really didn't early, but he got better at it over time. Under the manager that doesn't make anyone better. Sorry. I obviously don't think that, but I know some do. Do you want to talk about some of the didn't quite happens?
Yeah, please do.
So the one that's an unknown is Caleb Urenki, who's at Nordsjælland in Norway. We were linked closely to him. Bournemouth also was, but Bournemouth spent a good amount of money already this window. And at the end of the window, reportedly, they received an $18 million euro offer for him that they declined from a Premier League club.
Same difference.
Fair. Pretty close. That they declined. All that was known was a Premier League team, but we were the club in the Premier League that was linked the most closely to him, so that certainly could have been us. Nathan Decat. Urenki, I should back up. Urenki is a Baleba-like player. Size, athleticism, quickness, power. He's just an impressive athlete. He is a year older, a little less than a year older than Baleba was when he came to us. Obviously, he's playing in Norway and not in France, but Baleba didn't play a ton in League One either. The next midfielder was Nathan Decat, which I want to get Decat on the back of a jersey. Like that's great. He's a big dude.
That would be a much better surname if you're a goalkeeper.
Indeed. That is fair. Going to look. Yeah, he's 6'4", so he's not small. Urenki is 6 foot. Sorry, I'm finding my screen. But he is a big, strong 6 type, sort of a 6'8". Urenki is more of probably more of an 8, like Baleba.
You mean he's not a 6'7"?
No, I don't. Stop, Arteta. So there's a red card being given. Saeed or said Almala from FC Cologne was another linked name for around a 30 million poundish package. There's been talk that he, is expected to be around a 50 million euro
I've
buy.
been keeping a track on him, and he seems to be pretty promising. Like minutes,
Yeah.
he's putting in a decent amount of minutes, decent numbers for a young lad, and he's one to be excited about. If we don't sign him, probably someone in the Premier will. So if you are watching, and you can somehow put an investment on a player, he will probably do quite well.
He's 6'2", he's fast. I think his top recorded time is like He's like just under 35 kilometers per hour. Minta is just over 36. He's one of the fastest players in the Premier League. But to be 6'2" and bring that kind of pace is promising. Shoots from outside the box effectively. He's certainly unafraid to pull the trigger. I wonder about his dribbling and whether he will be able to find the spaces that he's able to find in the Bundesliga here. But the size certainly helps. But he's a very similar profile to Watson physically. I just think with a little bit more pace. And Micah Mbik, who's on loan from Charlton at Colchester, is doing really well, but we're talking a couple levels down. I don't know that he was going to be ready right away. That bid was reported. We were reported to have made like a £1.5 million bid, then a £3.5 million bid. And there was a thought that we were going to come in with a £5 million bid that was going to get it over the line, but we didn't. There was talk that we bid, in addition to on Elmala, to his brother, who is also a 6'4" striker, but plays, I think, largely for Cologne's like younger team, even though he is the older brother, but trying to get them in sort of a package deal. And then the last name that we were linked to a bid to was Charlie Cresswell. About a week before the deadline, it was said that we made a €23 million bid for him. Obviously, a former Leeds player who was linked to West Ham and others in the window. Wolfsburg had reportedly made a bid, but Toulouse did not want to lose him. Kept him through the window. So it's going to be interesting to see if we come back in for these guys over the summer. I'd be thrilled with the four more prominent guys. I mean, Urenki is sort of my like number one Baleba-like player that we were linked to. Decat, I thought, was completely out of our range, given the clubs looking at him, and Elmala, I thought the same. It worries me a little bit because I think we're going to see higher price tags, and we could have gotten them this window. Obviously, we tried to do that, but I didn't feel like any of the bids that we made were high enough that they were reasonably going to be accepted, which I understand why a lot of our fans would question the method to that madness, other than maybe saving face, which I think is potentially a fair criticism. But also, if we're turning a player's head, sometimes you want that group that wanted you. And so knowing that we bid for them now, maybe there's a little bit of a connection where before the summer window opens, they're more willing to talk with us and we can get our foot in the door first and get them here in a place where, especially if we have some exits this summer, and I think they're going to be exits this summer, that maybe we can bring those players in because they see a pathway to time.
Yeah.
But these are young guys.
It's sort of gone under the radar. I mean, you boys are aware because I've messaged you, but the club recalled Do Young Yoon from his club originally to another, and he's done phenomenally. I think he's played 3 games, got a goal, got an assist. He's played good 70, 80 minutes most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really good move, and I think the club aren't really people aren't really talking about it. You see about people, Garuda's gone on loan, and we recalled Igor and we recalled Matt, and that's great. But we've also been sensible and gone, this loan move's not quite working how we wanted to. Let's,
You mean the club are making smart moves for the future? Come on.
And he has done really well. So, and he was really tipped in Asia. Yeah. I know that the Asian community love their players.
Yeah.
And obviously we've seen what the impact Matoma's had at Brighton with the Japanese contingent and stuff.
It's true.
So I'm excited to see what he can make, and he may get a championship loan. He may stick and fight for it next year. Who knows? He's still a very young lad.
Yeah, obviously we all know what happened with Carew. I don't think he was on anyone's radar to start for Brighton when he did, and when he came in, he made.
Weirdly, he was playing as like a left wing back at Union, wasn't he?
USG. Yeah,
and
exactly.
Sort of similar. De Young Yoon's doing it as well. He's sort of playing on. They play like a 3/5 at the back.
I think that's not such a
Interesting.
bad thing developmentally for a young player, though, especially playing on the wings. We obviously know Karu's defensive output as well
I think it's
most of
also
the time
quite
good.
a clever move in the sense that there's a bit of speculation as to whether we move to 3 at the back next year, and if he does, then we've got players who are accustomed to that already in the likes of them, and that is really, really pivotal. Because as much as I love Veltman, if we play at 3 at the back, I'd rather him in the centre back part than as a wing back.
Yeah,
I'd rather have
no, I
Minte or.
definitely agree. I think Minte at wing back, we'd just lose so much of what makes him good going forward.
No, I agree, but I think if you're going to put like Veltman or Minte there, I'd rather it be Minte because of the actual pace up and down. And
Fair enough.
But
that remains to be seen what's going to happen next season. What we do have to think about, guys, is the amount of season we've got left. And of course, as Doom has called it in the chat earlier, El Sacchio. So there you go.
Sounds a bit weird.
Or a lot of people call it El Gatwicko because of Gatwick Airport being in between both clubs.
Sakiko, like Classico.
Yeah.
Oh, Sakiko, sorry.
I got you. I got you.
Thanks, Dagan, for being my human autocorrect.
I work more functionally than autocorrect, I'll say. I'll give myself credit there. Autocorrect is infuriating.
Now, I've never met Dagan in person, so he could well be AI. I don't know.
It's entirely likely.
Still yet to actually tell if he's real or not, but Joe I can confirm is a real human. But
I do lots of math. Like there's some clues that maybe lead you to think that I'm not.
You're going to be like an Alexa, so we're going to be like, "Hey, Dagan, ask question." Dagan gives response. Who knows? But yeah, I mean that I think just about rounds off today's episode of the Albion Obsessed podcast.
Looking out for you, Doom.
Dagan is AI. Thanks for the save, Dagan. There you go. Yeah, Dagan's here to save us all. Yeah, as I say, that just about rounds us off for this week. If you have enjoyed today's episode and you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Albion Obsessed podcast. We'll be coming at you with lots more content throughout the rest of this season and beyond, hopefully. And a big thank you to Dagan and Ian for joining me today, as always. Don't forget to like and share as well. Share it around with all of your other Albion supporting friends,
including the dogs.
And also, yeah, exactly. The dogs love us. If you're listening on Spotify, I never say this, so I'm going to say it now. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple, we do live streams. Mostly, we try to every week, so come over to our YouTube channel. But if you are listening on Spotify or Apple, please don't forget to drop us a 5-star rating or any rating you fancy giving us, really, but 5 stars would be preferred.
5 stars, like the Brighton performance on Sunday. You're very welcome for that lovely transition, Joe.
Thank you so much, Ian. So, yeah, that just remains for me to say, wherever you may be, whenever you may be, we will see you after we've beaten that lot up the road. See you later. Bye-bye.